spare time I've had. Oh, she's recording, good. I mean, to be honest with you, this is not scintillating. There are 4 things you need to do. One of them you may well have done because it's beta testing. If you haven't done it, somebody made a really good point in the last lesson. They said, oh, it's a right faff to give my code to somebody else. Could I just show it them on a Zoom call or something like that? I think in the present circumstances, that's fine, as long as you get some form of written feedback from a third party. Who cares? If your mum and dad end up evaluating it this year, I don't care. Okay?
So it doesn't have to be on like actual third party?
No. So it's in fact that's normally the case because there's always someone has problems with being able to get their real third party to do it. It's independent feedback. If it is from your third party, that would be better. If it's from someone who at least understands the system, but you've got no excuse. You really could do it for yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for, let's face it, for a game, anyone could do that, couldn't they? But if it's someone who can understand the system, it would be better.
Could your parents count as third party?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Why could you have parents?
Then I wouldn't use your parents. I'm happy with the mate. This year, I'll take anyone as long as they're happy to write you a paragraph saying what they felt about the software. Okay. This year, I will take. I'm going to be more relaxed about what that independent feedback is. However, if it's not there, you lose 1 mark. Ka-ching. If it's there. So, the next easy peasy bit. You write 1 paragraph saying things you would do differently next time.
How heavily do we roast ourselves? Because like.
Wait for it. Not at all.
Oh, so we say it was.
This is not GCSE where you've got to make up some bad stuff. This is if you like pick out 100 problems and I go, ooh.
What would you do next time? Drop out of computer science?
There's still time. I just was not on the camera. Sorry, guys.
Can they not hear you?
No, they can hear me. It's nice to have a little floating Joe head, isn't it, in the corner? So, if I'm just gesticulating and pointing at things, they can't see it, can they? So, well, no, now they can pick whether it's room vision or me.
We could do a whole class display.
Shut up. So, 1 paragraph. Here's the things so key things that are easy peasy just to pick on. 1, your user interface. None of you will have pristine user interfaces. It almost certainly could be better. 2, if you've got any algorithm that could be made more efficient. 3, if you've got data that you could investigate using a different way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So those are your 3 options, really. For games, if you haven't got a save game feature, adding a save game feature. Oh no, sorry, don't forget that. Forget on for a second, because that's the next bit. But I want at least a paragraph on things I would do differently.
But that's not like, oh, I would have started it earlier.
No, that's like technical solution. Now we do another paragraph on stuff what I could add. So, you put in a completely new feature to your testing, a different game mode, season 2. Investigate other mazy things. I can't think. I suddenly realised I've completely backed myself. I can't think what else you would do. So I don't know, a different style of maze, 3D mazes. Who cares? whatever it happens to be, just pick something that you decide not to stick into your requirements. So those are 3 marks. Well, those are 2 marks. You get 2 marks for the additions and improvements, and you get 1 mark for the that. However, this all underpins, there's like now a sliding scale about whether you will get those marks or not. And that's how well you assess your requirements. So I started with the fluff, and there's a variety of ways you could do this. If you look at some of the exemplars, the easiest way of doing it is you create a table and you stick your requirements in the table. You then rag rate it, red, amber, green. Red, I completely missed it.
We don't want any red, do we? We don't want any amber.
Well, okay, amber.
Just the one.
Amber, you sort of say, oh no, I did meet this, but it's a bit, there's something that I could do to improve. I don't mind the odd bit of that, that's fine. But really you want to see of green. If you've got too much red, you either kind of want to say, oh, as I went through it, I realised this wasn't necessarily part of the project. And then it's up to me to make a decision whether, if your project is big enough already, the odd missed requirement, I can say, that's fine, it was kind of beyond the scope of the project, we'll brush that under the carpet. Obviously, if there's too many of those, that becomes trickier. Effectively, for each red, it's asking me a question, do I dock marks off the 15 marks? What were you going to say, Prathmesh?
What if someone's colourblind, they all get red and they're getting marks?
I'm marking it and I'm not colourblind.
You know, someone doing it, what if any examiner is,
It's not going anywhere this year.
but what if they're every year and writes a word or
Anyway,
what if they're dyslexic?
so requirement, rag it, little comment. Okay. If it's something demonstrable, like a big part of your project, ideally you're going to point it to some testing. So you can say test 27 clearly shows this. If you do that, that is belt and braces. You have given full consideration. Happy? Do you need to do it for every last thing? No, because it'll take you forever. If it's just like the navigation-y type stuff or the forms, you can say from the testing, it's very obviously shown. So if it's big and obvious, you can say that. If it's something that's a bit nitty-gritty, like you've done a white box test to prove it, give the test number.
I'm a bit confused. What is technical solution? Do we just paste the code and the report and write several objects?
So I'll talk about that in a second. Does anyone have any questions about what the evaluation has? Table of requirements, paragraph on what I would change, paragraph what I would add, third-party feedback.
Do you have video on this? Right.
Well, I will have when I save this.
Oh, do you know how on the?
No, I never did. I don't know why there was never a video on evaluation, so I'm doing it now. Does anyone have any questions about that? There are several exemplars on the site. It's worth 4 marks, but I'm telling you now, when I mark a piece of work, open it up, read the first couple of pages of analysis. Flick, flick, flick. Have a quick Scooby at the requirements. Okay. Then flick to the evaluation and look at what you think you've done. Okay. At this stage, I will then make an assessment about whether I think your project is available standards. If it's not available standard, you're basically getting no marks. Because we knock you down 2 bands for every 2 bands for every chapter. Not 2 marks, 2 bands, 2 marking bands.
So that's essentially like 2/3 of the point.
Yeah.
And then you still have to get full mark.
Yeah, and you won't.
What can't you just tell them if it's A-level standard before they start the project?
Well, that's what
That's what the
I'm about to say. I'm fairly sure I've been through that process. You guys, I mean, you've got all of your projects at the very least are available standing in concept. All of them are available standing in terms of design, unless you've totally changed it as you've done it. And occasionally someone will just have gone, oh, I couldn't do that, so I cut it out. Oh, I couldn't do that, so I cut it out. Oh, I couldn't do that bit either, so I cut it out. Oh, I didn't do that bit either. And you're like, oh my goodness. But hopefully no one's in
You're
that.
embarrassing me here, Joe.
So once I've done that, then it's like the process I've talked to you about before. Now, does the analysis meet the requirements? Yes or no? Does the design meet the requirements? Yes or no? Does the actual technical solution, which I look in testing, go back to the requirements? If it all matches, then it's like, oh, okay, now we can start marking. If not, I'll have to make a few little notes just to say, okay, there's something not quite right here, but that's fine. As soon as I know that's rough and ready, I can say, right, I reckon the analysis is worth this many marks because it's got this many features and all the rest of it. I think in terms of technical solution, it's giving this much complexity at this stage. Go to design. Okay, I think it's creating a solution with this much complexity. Now I can look at the testing. Hopefully that evidence is the technical solution. That's when I make my final decision on is it available standard. But usually if the analysis and design are available standard and have such and such complexity, even if you screw up the technical solution, I'll say, well, no, it's like, it is a A-level standard, this much complexity project, they've just screwed it up. So they lose these marks, but at least they'll keep the complexity marks. And I'll do my best. You know, you can normally talk that round as long as you've had a decent go at it. If it's just hello world, obviously you can't. So.
But what if it's hello world and like machine language?
Joe,
Has it been
on
on
YouTube, like some people like they uploaded a video about testing, like January, and it's in console window, like black screen, like how does that work?
What if it's a neural network?
Yeah, some people do console solutions. One person's even in a console game. About 2 people have. What? Because if you've got some kick-ass Minimax with alpha beta pruning and it's beautiful, the fact it's in console is not the end of the world. If you do a database project where you're writing reports and you're doing it in console, that's pretty shabby, isn't it?
Can you connect it?
Saying that, I mean, it used to be, obviously. You used to access databases via console and you'd have ASCII tables. Oh my goodness, I'm having flashbacks. It was not fun. But does anyone have any questions about evaluation? Anyone who submitted their whole project, including all the documentation for testing, I'll give you a little feedback on best bang for your bookmarks. If you do the same for evaluation, I will give it a little video saying, do this, do that, do the other. Normal year wouldn't be allowed to, but this year it's not exam board marking it, it's me marking, it's teacher assessed grades. So therefore, I feel comfortable with that.
So are you allowed to help us code as well?
No. I mean, sorry, I'm going to stop recording this, but Prathmesh, what do you mean, am I allowed to help you code? Like I haven't already. I'm expecting at least a joint authorship of yours.